If you watched an Inter Miami game or seen any videos about Inter Miami recently, there's a good chance you've seen David Beckham. Well, obviously, he's the owner. But I don't know if you noticed, the one guy that is always standing next to Beckham at all times. This guy. Well, this man is Jorge Mas, a man who beat Barcelona, the billionaire Saudis, and managed to give Messi a deal so good it would be impossible for him to say no. But really, who is he? Jorge Mas is a 6-year-old Cuban-American billionaire, chairman, and largest shareholder of Mastec, a Miami-based construction and engineering company founded by his father. He was born and raised in Miami and went to school in the University of Miami for business. And in 2021, he alongside his brother bought 37.5% of Inter Miami. Jorge Mas knew that to start a great MLS team, it takes a great player. So what most people don't know or didn't even expect is that he was meeting up with Messi years before even buying Inter Miami, because he always knew he only had one target in mind, which is getting Lionel Messi to play in one of his future teams no matter what. Especially since Messi can change not only a team's history but also take their financial conditions to the next level. And on the pursuit to sign one of the greatest players of all time, Jorge had many meetings with Messi over the years, going to cities like London, Barcelona, and even his birth city Rosario to build trust, and each time making his offer more convincing and a little better. Jorge went far beyond only football talk, knowing the MLS wasn't the most attractive place to play at the time, but he touched on things like family, lifestyle, and at the end, there was only one specific thing that he told Messi that made him want to join an MLS side more than ever before. He used the same trick used against guys like Pele and even David Beckham himself. He told him, look, there is nothing else you could win in football, and more money will not bring you more respect from the fans. However, if you come to America, you can change the way the sport is seen in the biggest sports market in the world and be remembered forever. This is usually the pitch that is used with most players that come to America at the end of their careers, and I won't lie, it can sound pretty incredible to be pitched taking over America in a sport that many tried but haven't succeeded. And for all these guys at the top, they hear it almost like a challenge, which is exactly what the biggest football player of our generation heard and loved the idea of. But obviously that wasn't the only strategy used by Jorge Mas. He had other tricks up his sleeve, because he knew signing Messi wasn't just handing him cash and giving him a nice house. There's simply much more to it, which is exactly why Jorge Mas had to come up with ideas and tricks to draw Messi away from potential destinations and also draw him into Inter Miami. One of their pitches used by Jorge Mas was that Messi and his family moving to Saudi Arabia would mean that he would have to move to a whole different culture, and him and his whole family would have a huge learning curve in terms of religion, language, day-to-day, and even though he would be offered a lot of money for this move, it would ultimately not be beneficial for his family. Another upside he told Messi was reminding him that Miami has a huge Latino population, and you pretty much don't need to speak Spanish in Miami because everyone speaks Spanish, which obviously was another crucial positive for Messi and his family. Alright, so he got Messi away from Saudi and showed Messi good things about Miami. But how did he manage to get Messi away from Barcelona, even though it was Messi's clear destination and target? Well, it was actually quite simple. He just literally told Messi, what if the same thing that happened to you at Barcelona happens again? Are you willing to leave your career in the hands of someone else? Which Messi obviously said no to, and even went as far as revealing this in an interview that he did right after joining Inter Miami.
Poder volver, pero por otro lado dejar mi futuro en manos de otro.
And he confirmed that was exactly his reason for staying away from Barca. So Jorge Mas had many points to not only get Messi away from potential destinations, but also to draw him in Inter Miami. And even though I said it's not as simple as handing him a bag of cash, you still have to convince Messi financially. So how do you draw in one of the biggest sports earners of all time to join the MLS? Well, Messi signed a 2.5-year contract with Inter Miami, bringing him up to the end of 2025 with a reported option to extend for another 12 months. Overall, being worth around $140 million in the 2 years he's there. I know what you're thinking, that's great, but that's not that impressive considering this is Messi we're talking about. So what truly makes this a Messi worth deal? And the answer is what I call the difference makers. Some examples of difference makers are a stake in assets like shirts and merchandise, a cut of Apple TV, and the biggest of all, an ownership stake in the club as part of his contract. All of these things combined made Messi not even think twice in joining Inter Miami, because no matter what he does, even if he leaves, there will be millions and millions flowing in his bank for the rest of his life just off this deal. Even after an incredible pitch of getting Messi to fall in love with the idea of living in Miami and also liking the financial standpoint, even then, that's not enough, because we're forgetting one small problem. Inter Miami suck. And yes, we have just seen Inter Miami be champions of the League's Cup in only 7 games after Messi joining. But don't get it mistaken, the team before Messi was a sad sight to see, and currently they're literally the very worst team in the MLS, which is just another problem the owners had to take care of, because even though you have Messi joining your team, it suddenly doesn't become all that great for Messi to be thrown in a disaster of a team. And even though he is Messi, Inter Miami went after a little help, signing Tata Martino, Sergio Busquets, and Jordi Alba. It is clear they're trying to get Argentines and Spanish speakers to get Messi as familiarized as possible, and ultimately even happier with this squad. And they are not stopping, because their last 2 signings were Argentinian players, Facundo Farias and Thomas Aviles. And this plan to get Messi as familiarized as possible and comfortable has already worked out, considering Inter Miami have yet to lose a game with Messi playing. So they're giving all this money to Messi, building a team around him, and doing absolutely everything in their power to convince Messi that Inter Miami is the best place to be. But what do they get in return? The short answer is an unimaginable amount of money, but overall they get a huge growth in soccer interest in America, record number of jersey sales, the whole world watching your team, huge sponsorships, and the greatest football player of all time playing in your team. And just to put in perspective how big this win is for Inter Miami, PSG in only 2 years made around 700 million just off Messi, and Inter Miami are already well on their way to make much more. So if you ask me, years and years of talking to Lionel Messi to even get a small chance to sign him could not have paid off more.